Order the meeting of the February 5th, 2026 Homeowners and Commercial Property Insurance Task Force. A quorum is present in business. We have two members joining remotely today, Senator Doms and Jacqueline D. Medici Bruno. Tim Johnson will not be present today to vote, but I have told him that we would include an indication of how he would have voted had he been able to be present in the record. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from our previous meeting? And if so, is there a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes? Any corrections? I don't see any corrections, so I see Mr. Axfig prepared to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the minutes for approval.
So moved. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. We have minutes. Next order of business is discussion and votes on working group recommendations. We're going to go through these one at a time. And I don't know, Ms. Hatt, did you have anything to offer about the process we want to use? Okay, good. Austin?
In your packets, you have a layout of what's been presented and discussed up till date. It's also in slide form that will be in your packets and on the screens for those joining remotely.
And one clarification that needs to be made is that we're starting to see draft legislation, or in the case of Senator Seeberger's bills, actual legislation. But all of that will be subject to change. So what we'll be voting on today is the wording of the recommendations. Okay. And I would say that for my part, whenever I expect to probably be carrying some legislation that comes out of our deliberations myself. And anytime that I'm carrying legislation on a topic of this kind of complexity and broad interest, it's my habit to create a stakeholder notification list to keep people apprised of the progress of the legislation. And it would be my intention to do that with any legislation coming out of this task force. And all of you will automatically be on that notification list. I think everybody's kind of settled in. We want to start with this. So the first recommendation, and probably I'm looking at it in the spreadsheet form that's included in the package. We have the wording coming out of our last meeting, and then we also have suggested changes coming from member Carrie Johnson. And why don't we go to her first for her proposed amendment?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Elkins. I just think that the as written and sent around was a little too wordy and too prescriptive, and recommending that we have a little more broad language. And so it's in blue here, looks like. So it would read, the task force recommends that the Minnesota Fair Plan examine the feasibility of offering additional products, including commercial property insurance, to help fill coverage gaps in the market and report its findings to the legislature. Products include, but are not limited to, affordable multifamily housing, common interest communities, and other smaller multi-unit properties. And then I added, the task force recommends the legislature provide the Fair Plan with sufficient funding to conduct the study, including actuarial research.
Discussion. Are people going to want to take a second to read through this and compare?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Coffey.
I have a question. Is the intent then that the Fair Plan reports back either kind of yes or no to the legislature after they've done their research to to say whether they think it's feasible or not, or how do we envision that working out?
I would not envision it being a simple yes or no. I would expect them to report back with more nuanced recommendations.
Mrs. Chair, so maybe we need to add and report back its findings to the legislature. Just to clarify.
That's a good point, I think. So this is a fairly significant change. I'm going to let people cogitate for a few minutes here.
Can I ask a quick question? So the language that was sent around, Austin, that was your summary of the conversation? Or did somebody provide those notes?
It was in conjunction with the conversation as well as input from a member.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
and comments on this. I can understand the desire to be succinct, but I think the additional language is important and it addresses concerns that the insurance industry would have more knowledge of perhaps than some of the other members related to specifics of actuarial research and what should be included in that research. So I'm still in favor of the original language.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the proposed language does include a yeah. But the proposed, Ms. Johnson's proposed language still includes the sentence, the task force recommends the legislature provide the FAIR Plan with sufficient funding to conduct the study, including actuarial research.
But it doesn't include detail on what that actuarial research would entail. There's more specifics in the prior language in terms of specifics of how the actuarial study would be conducted.
Mr. Chair, I'm just looking at the other task force recommendations and none of them are that prescriptive. I think that's something that can be worked out in legislation. Because I'm guessing the legislature would we would need to have a bill to bring forward for this study, especially if we're asking the legislature to provide funding for it, which I think is the right way to fund this study if wanting to expand the programs or product offerings. But for example, on the construction codes changes, that isn't overly prescriptive. Changes on the, we had a conversation last time on the third-party financing bill, and we decided to keep it more high level. So I just wanted to offer up, I would prefer to keep it higher level and have the conversation of the details during the legislative session.
And for my part, I have to kind of agree that I think more general is better in this case. Mr. Burkwitty.
I have a technical question that I'm not, like, if we had nonpartisan staff here, I would direct it to them, but just the wording of the language of the legislature should provide the FAIR Plan with sufficient funding. I'm not sure if the legislature can directly appropriate funds directly to the FAIR Plan, as it's a quasi-state entity, but I don't know that for certain. And so maybe if that's something we could inquire about with House Research, that might, I get the point that we're trying to make, but like that, that might be a technical item that the legislature would have to sort through. I think we heard and we have the executive director of the FAIR Plan in the room with us too. My recollection is that he thought that the FAIR Plan would be able to absorb a study of this nature within its existing budget, but I may be misremembering.
No, that's my recollection as well.
Well, In that case, we may not need either set of languages, discussion of how it gets funded. If we wanted to sort of try to merge them together.
Mr. Cocky?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ms. Johnson's point's well taken. I mean, that we aren't as prescriptive on the rest of the recommendations that we've done. I think the question is, and in speaking with Mr. Rupp, you know, their ability to be able to do this, but I think those are all things that are gonna would have to get flushed out at the committee level in the legislature anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the more, the proper venue to determine, you know, what the anticipated cost of this is gonna be. And once that's identified, whether or not they can come out of but I think those are all questions for the legislature and that committee to process. I don't necessarily have any, issues in paring this down a little bit. I think that some deference can be given to the FAIR Plan. I mean, if we give them kind of broad strokes on what it is that we want them to look at to potentially do, and then I think it's up to the legislature to decide how they're gonna fund that, but, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I think the representatives of the FAIR Plan that have been here have participated in the discussion, and they have a good idea of what we're looking for. I don't think they need tons of further direction at this point.
I would also say, I think some of this stuff, and I think to Gene's point, I think is kind of just inherent on what any study is gonna, I don't necessarily know that we have to be prescriptive, for the study to do this. Again, I think that, with Mr. Rupp being here, I mean,
Yep.
he's kind of got a sense of what it is
Yep.
that this task force was looking at and wanting them to do.
Mhm.
And in talking to him, it sounds like they potentially have to hire an outside group to be able to do this, to get
Yeah.
that. And so I think all of that could be considered. I think, again, kind of just pointing in the direction and saying, this is kind of what the task force came up with. We think that there's potentially something that should be looked at here, and then turn that over to the legislature makes some sense.
Mhm. But Mr. Cocking, would you be okay with deleting that sentence about the task force recommends the legislature provide the FAIR Plan with sufficient funding? Do you think, I think that might be superfluous as well.
And without knowing what it's gonna cost, and again, it's gonna be up to the legislature to determine whether or not they have the resources to fund this, but not knowing what the scope or the potential cost of this is gonna be, I don't want an undue amount of that to come down onto the FAIR Plan. And so if the state wants them to do that, I think it's only fair for them to provide a little bit of resources for them to do that.
And yeah, and I like your idea, Ms. Johnson, of including a sentence at the back, the wording, and report back to the legislature. It is in there.
Moved from where it was in the original draft. But it's, yeah, to help fill coverage gaps in the market and report its findings to the legislature at the end of the first sentence.
Oh, yes, it is. It's there. Okay. Yep. Good catch.
I just wanted to offer up that if we are unsure if the FAIR Plan can receive funds, maybe it should be directed to sufficient funding to the Department of Commerce, and then it could be pass-through funds or something like that. And if there are funds sufficiently available at the FAIR Plan, that's great, but I just don't want the cost of the feasibility study to be passed on to the premium holders either, or, you know, I know the insurance industry doesn't want it to be passed on to them either, so I thought we had compromised on the legislature funding the study.
Okay. So are we okay with the way it's written, subject to, you know, Gene's
And
reservations?
it looks like we've removed the language that the FAIR Plan would continue to be recognized as a market of last resort only. I have grave concerns about turning the FAIR Plan into a competitive market, so I would like to see that sentence retained.
Ms. Johnson, do you have any response to that?
I would like to keep it open. Just because, again, we're examining gaps in the market. So if there are gaps in the market, I don't think we should just say flat out that it's a insurer of last resort? Or what does that mean? And so, again, I'd like to keep it more broad. That can certainly be a part of the study, though, when we have the details. So.
Senator Dames,
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would agree that language should be kept in there. I don't think we want to get ahead of our skis here and take that language out. I think we need to keep it.
okay. Okay, so if discussion has mostly been had, I think the first thing to be in order would be a vote on whether that particular language should stay or remain. So the language in question is near the end. It says, "The study and any recommendations should continue to recognize that the FAIR Plan is a market of last resort only." I think all of our votes have to be roll call, don't they, Mr. Chairman? Yeah. So, a yes vote would mean that, that this language should remain. A no vote, would mean that this language would be deleted as suggested by Ms. Johnson. Okay. Mr. Chairman, will you take the roll on that?
Chair Elkins,
What did I just say? So an aye means keep it. I'm okay with keeping it, yes.
Adam Axvig,
Voting on restoring the language about the FAIR Plan being a market of last resort only.
Yeah, where a yes means that we would keep that sentence in.
Then my vote is yes.
Okay.
Peter Brickwitty,
Yes.
Jacqueline de Medici Bruno,
Yes.
Boss Trolls, Aaron Cocking,
Yes.
Senator Dames,
Yes.
Carrie Johnson. Tim Johnson's excused. Jessica Szyminski,
No.
Anna Midgley,
Yes.
Josh Reams, Gene Sundloff.
Yes.
The vote is 10 ayes, 2 noes, one absent. So the language would remain in here. Okay, so the next motion would be to accept Member Johnson, Carrie Johnson's proposal, subject with the change that we just made. Okay. Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, will you let's take the roll on this one? The chair votes aye.
Adam Axvig. Peter Brickwitty. Jacqueline de Medici Bruno.
Yeah.
Boss Trolls. Aaron Cocking,
Yes.
Senator Dames,
No.
Carrie Johnson, Jessica Szyminski, Anna Midgley, Josh Reams,
Yes.
Gene Sundloff.
Vote on this one is 9 aye, 3 noes, and one absent. So that motion passed. So that deals with recommendation 1. And we can move on to recommendation 2. So recommendation 2 reads, the task force recommends that the legislature amend the Minnesota Fair Plans Board composition to have a majority of public members. So discussion on item 2. Mr. Cockey?
I'll reiterate. Opposition that I mentioned at the last meeting. I don't think this is wise.
Any other comment on this one? Mr. Axby?
Go Aaron's comments. I just don't think that this is a prudent move at this time. I have concerns as what this would do to the marketplace. So I'll be a no.
Okay. Okay, there's no further discussion.
Yes,
We can
Mr. Chair, I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry, Senator Doms.
I would also be voting no on this. I think we're heading in a direction that is just not going to be healthy for the market down the road, and I think it's going to cause a lot of issues. And so I'm going to be a strong no on this.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Put that on the record.
Okay. We can proceed to a vote then. Oh, yes, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we move to approve this recommendation, and the chair votes aye.
Adam Axvig? Peter Berkwitty?
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Yes.
Foss Choles? Aaron Cocking?
No.
Senator Dames?
No.
Carrie Johnson? Jessica Szyminski? Anna Midgley?
No.
Josh Reams?
Yes.
Gene Sunloff?
Oh, the vote on this is 6 in favor and 6 against, with one member absent. I think a tie vote means it fails. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this one is not passed. Okay, so going on to number 3, the task force recommends that the legislature fund the Strengthen Minnesota Homes program found in Minnesota Statute 65A.299. Discussion on this item. Quiet group this morning.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Senator Doms.
do we have any idea what kind of a cost this might incur?
No, we do not. And as you continue to quite correctly point out, that's entirely up to the legislature.
Thank you.
Members, we can proceed to a vote on this item. I'll make the motion in favor of this, that we adopt this recommendation, and the chair votes aye.
Adam Axvig? Peter Berkwitty?
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Yes.
Foss Choles? Aaron Cocking?
Yes.
Senator Dames?
No.
Carrie Johnson? Jessica Szyminski? Anna Midgley?
Yes.
Josh Reams?
Yes.
Gene Sunloff?
The vote on this item is 11 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 absent. So this recommendation is adopted. Item 4 reads, the task force recommends that the Department of Labor and Industry update the building codes for new construction to incorporate a version of the IBHS fortified roofing standards. Discussion. Mr. Cocking.
The concern that I have is that the language that was provided along these lines, and this is that AS 097-1 amendment in our packet, that the roof hardening standard, the language reads on line 3.20, this must include rules specific to new construction and re-roofing existing buildings. I think that deviates from the notion that we were talking about just new construction. I would be a no with that picking up existing.
Yeah, so as I clarified at the beginning, what we're voting on now is the language and the recommendation. So
Yep, I'm,
this is the language that, the bill language that's in there is a first draft that I just received from Anna Scholene in House Research. And I know that while I've been away, there's also been other discussion with representatives from IBHS as well. So I've asked Ms. Scholene to refrain from forwarding that bill draft to the reviser for jacketing until we could have further discussions on how that's worded.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
our
that's,
position was clear that if we're going to do this, that for the building code stuff, that it's new construction only.
yeah, and it's, you just, again, we're voting on the language, on the recommendation, not the bill language. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll continue to discuss that one. Yeah. Any other comments, concerns? Mr. Axfig?
So incorporate a version of the IBHS fortified roofing standards. I guess I'm just curious about the term "a version of," because as I understand it, there are some different levels, but there's not sort of different versions. And so I guess I would be more comfortable saying incorporating elements of the IBHS fortified roofing standards into the code instead of a version, because to me, a version suggests there's a complete list of different things. And so I just, that gives me a little pause. I would likely still support it, but to me, it's saying let's incorporate elements instead of, a more comprehensive set of standards.
Yeah, so from my perception is that the standards that have been developed by IBHF so far have been somewhat oriented towards what's appropriate in states with hurricane and fire damage. And whereas here our primary concerns are wind and hail. And so that, adopting those current fortified standards, lock, stock, and barrel probably isn't going to make sense here. But going through the DLI's building code process, having witnessed how that process works, I think it would be a particularly appropriate method of, working through those issues and coming to something that would be appropriate for Minnesota. Mr. Brickwitty?
To Mr. Axfig's question, IBHS does periodically update the technical standards. And so how I read this was, or that use of a version,
Mhm.
I interpreted it to mean, as the codes process goes forward, whatever the current version or current updated version of the standards would be the thing that would be incorporated. So maybe, Adam, maybe it's the current version, because there's a temporal problem, or not problem necessarily, but a temporal issue between the timeline for the codes process playing out and then IBHS's independent work to update their standards, over which they do periodically. In fact, they just completed one this past fall. So that's how I was reading it, was not necessarily picking fortified roof versus fortified gold, but whatever the current version of the fortified standard is as the technical people have updated it.
Yeah, I think that, the draft bill that they have before us does, call for IBHS to be included in the DLI process. And I could easily imagine that, that what IBHS would learn from going through that process might inform the development of their own standards.
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Chair, I guess my primary concern is if this is a package deal coming from IBHS, that I don't want, at least personally, I would not want the Codes Council to say, we have to adopt this in its entirety. And that's the direction that we're receiving, down the line from, starting here. I guess some of them might make sense, some of them might not. And of course, the Codes Council will have, the wherewithal to know what would be appropriate for the state of Minnesota. But I think when you say a version of the IBS fortified roofing standards, to me, that suggests that it is a complete set package deal. And so they would either have to do wholesale or not. And I don't think that that is what I would personally support if that was the case. And so, you know, just if we could just establish that this is meant to be more just as a guideline that they can incorporate some elements of it
Yep.
into the code, I think maybe makes more sense than just saying, you know, a version of just because, you know, again, some of the elements of the standard might be appropriate, but some might not. And I think
Yeah.
it would be better to give the Construction Codes Council some flexibility to say,
Yeah.
to pick and choose from within those elements.
Okay, so what is your suggested wording?
You could strike out, incorporate elements of the IBHS fortified roofing standard. That would give me more comfort.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that.
So,
Whatever.
Mr. Chairman, we'd strike a version and replace it with elements.
Yep. Is everybody clear on that? Yep. Okay. Okay, so I think we have a consensus on that. I don't think we need to take a roll call vote on it, but I think that but we can move to a vote on the language that we've just discussed then. So it would read, the task force recommends that the Department of Labor and Industry update the building codes for new construction to incorporate elements of the IBHS fortified roofing standards. Everybody clear? I think nodding heads. Senator Dames. No, okay,
I
All
just
right.
took my hand down. I apologize.
okay. Okay, we're good. So, Mr. Terman, you take the roll? Oh, I'm sorry, yep. I will move that the task force recommends that the Department of Labor and Industry update the building codes for new construction to incorporate elements of the IBHS fortified roofing standards. And the chair votes aye.
Adam Axfig. Peter Brickwitty,
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno,
Yes.
Boss Trolls, Aaron Cocking, Senator Dames,
Yes.
Kerry Johnson, Jessica Sheminski,
Yes.
Anna Midgley,
Yes.
Josh Reams, Dean Sundloff.
Yes.
This measure passes 12 favor, 0 opposed, and 1 absent. So this recommendation is adopted. Okay, moving on to number 5. Number 5 currently reads, the task force recommends creation of catastrophic and mitigation savings accounts. And I think this one is Mr. Axfig. Would you have any comment on this one? No? Any discussion? Yep. Ms. Johnson?
Big. Do you have an estimate of the cost or what the tax credit would be or incentive would be?
Mr. Chair, Ms. Johnson, I believe without knowing the particular parameters of the program, it would be hard to pin down a cost. I will say when I spoke with House Counsel, he had suggested a similar program. The cost was fairly minimal. I would say less than $100,000 for a different program. I don't know how much that informs, you know, the answer to your question, but I think without having, you know, any idea of, you know, the number of people adopting this or utilizing this, as well as, you know, the various thresholds, you know, how much you can put in per year, how much you can put in maximum, I think it'd be rather hard for revenue to pin this down. So sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, Ms. Johnson.
No, but I think just, you know, and I'll say this before Senator Doms says it, because I'm pretty sure I know what he would say, and I would agree with him, is that this will require the drafting of a bill and the request of a fiscal note. Any other questions or comments? Okay, and then we can proceed to a vote on this one, and I'll move that the task force recommend that the creation of catastrophic and mitigation savings account, and the chair will vote aye.
Adam Axwig,
Aye.
Peter Berkwitty?
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Aye.
Boss Trolls?
Yes.
Aaron Cocking? Senator Dames?
Yes.
Carrie Johnson? Jessica Sheminski?
Yes. Sorry.
Anna Midgley? Josh Reams? Gene Sunlove?
Yes.
Okay, the vote on this item is 11 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent. So the measure recommendation is adopted. Number 6 reads, the task force recommends that the legislature continue to examine the issues related to third-party financing of litigation raised during the task force's deliberations through the legislative committee process, including an exploration of the unresolved legal issues identified by the courts due to perceived ambiguities in current law. And I think Mr. Cocking has a proposed amendment to this one.
No, I've got an
No.
addition that.
Just, okay, so this one will stand as it is. Any comments or questions about this item? Okay, you're good? Okay, if there's no comments or questions, the chair will move the approval of this recommendation. I'll read it one last time. The task force recommends that the legislature continue to examine the issues related to third-party financing of litigation raised during the task force's deliberations through the legislative committee process, including an exploration of the unresolved legal issues identified by the courts due to perceived ambiguities in current law. And the chair will vote yes.
Adam Axvig?
Yes.
Peter Berkwitty?
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Yes.
Boss Trolls?
Yes.
Aaron Cocking? Senator Dames?
Yes.
Carrie Johnson?
Abstain.
Jessica Sheminski?
Oh.
Anna Midgley? Josh Reams?
Yes.
Gene Sunlove?
Okay, the vote on this item is 10 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstain, and 1 absent, so the measure is adopted. Okay, number 7, the task force recommends that the legislature clarify the alternative dispute resolution statute so consumers and insurers understand that policyholders have 2 years from the date of loss to initiate the appraisal process for any type of claim. Questions or comments on this item? This one seems pretty straightforward. Mr. Talking, did you have a comment? No?
Mr. Chair, I think there's a number of issues related to this that could be further vetted out. I think there's a number of discussions around the appraisal process that we should examine. I think this is a little too narrow in kind of prescribing what we're doing. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. If there are no other comments or questions, the chair will move that the task force recommend that the legislature clarify the alternative dispute resolution statute so consumers and insurers understand that policyholders have 2 years from the date of loss to initiate the appraisal process for any type of claim. Chair votes aye.
Adam Axvig?
No.
Peter Berkwitty?
Yes.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Yes.
Boss Trolls? Aaron Cocking?
No.
Senator Dames?
No.
Carrie Johnson, Jessica Sheminski,
Yes.
Anna Midgley, Josh Reams,
Yes.
Gene Sunloff,
The vote on this one is 6 in favor, 6 opposed, and 1 absent. So the motion, this recommendation fails. Okay, Mr. Cocking, you had one other recommendation that you wanted to put forward? Is it in?
This is in line with, similar to the TPLF language, but this just says that the task force finds that legal system abuse is a significant driver of rising insurance premiums, and recommends the legislature examine and pursue appropriate legal reforms to lessen the burden of the tax on these
Mr. Brickwitty?
Cocking, what is the amount of the tort tax on Minnesotans?
Yes.
What is the amount of the tort tax on Minnesotans?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I think the last number I saw, and I'll pull it up, it was something around between $3,000 and $4,000 per Minnesotan or per household, but I'll pull up the most recent number and see if I can find that.
I think Senator Seeberger would like to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I don't have a specific number to answer that question. I have, throughout the course of this task force, presented anecdotal evidence of things that I've seen in my 30 years of practice as a trial attorney, from the defense perspective, that shows how the system itself costs insurance companies money. And I would be in favor of this for the reason that if we can stem the cost, if we can reduce costs and sort of stop the bleeding, as it were, in multiple different areas of tort law, wouldn't that ultimately help the policy holder? I can point to all kinds of different areas within the litigation system and the tort law system that shows where insurance companies are forced to spend too much. So I would be in favor of this because I do think we have to take a look at that, identify those areas, and make those changes where we can.
Thank you. Mr. Cocking?
Mr. Chair, to Mr. Brickwitty's question, the number is $3,183 per household in Minnesota. The total tort costs paid in Minnesota, 7.2, just shy of $7.2 billion, 1.6% of Minnesota's GDP. And happy to circulate this study from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Brickwitty, did you have?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? If not, so Mr. Ms. Samansky.
I think I'm opposed to this message or this proposal. It is first and foremost different from all of the rest of our recommendations where we put first a recommendation. This includes findings, and we're not a judicial body that makes findings of fact. We're a task force that makes recommendations to the legislature. It would be up to them to make findings for their legislative findings. That, to my understanding, is not what our job is here. And I also think we already have recommendation number 6 that talks about the third party financing of litigation. And that's the primary tort, primary legal reform we heard testimony about in this, in this task force. So I don't understand what this adds to this task force. We already have recommendation number 6. This is just superfluous and goes beyond what we've discussed in the task force. Thank you.
Any other discussion? So Mr. Cocking moves that the task force finds that the legal system abuse is a significant driver of rising insurance premiums and recommends that the legislature examine and pursue appropriate legal reforms to lessen the burden of tort tax on Minnesotans. So the chair votes no.
Adam Maxwig,
Yes.
Peter Brickwitty,
No.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno,
No.
Boss Trolls,
Yes.
Aaron Cocking,
Yes.
Senator Dames,
Yes.
Carrie Johnson,
No.
Jessica Cheminsky, Anna Midgley, Josh Reams,
Yes.
Gene Sunloff.
Yeah.
The vote on this one is 7 ayes, 5 noes, and 1 absent. So this recommendation is adopted. Okay, I think that is all of the, we've gotten all the way through the recommendations. Do we have any other business to conduct, Mr. Austin?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I had in my packet some recommendations from Mr. Reams. Do we want
yeah, let's.
to work through those?
Yeah, sorry, good point. Mhm. Mr. Reams, do you want to go through your recommendations?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and my apologies to the task force for the late addition. I think they could probably be combined into one recommendation, if we're willing to entertain it. It just occurs to me that most of our recommendations accomplishing the task force overall goal of looking at, costs and sustainability and affordability, I get it. But there's some more direct operational opportunities, I think, that exist. And so when I look at my particular constituency group, the homeowner associations, and CICs, I think there's 4 very specific things that could be recommended, that would really have a direct, effective, beneficial effect to both homeowners and to associations. So I've listed 4 things that, are essentially things that the legislature could consider when they look at 515B, State Statute 515B, which is the Minnesota Common Interest Ownership Act, which governs homeowner associations. I'll say that the spirit of where these comes from is not necessarily about controlling premiums, which obviously has significantly affected HOAs. But the second, and that, because that's really been mitigated, right? That's stabilized. But the second issue that homeowner associations face really is HO6 and loss assessments regarding deductibles. And that really, for homeowner associations, is kind of the current and next crisis. How can we help associations and homeowners? So there's 4 specific things that exist within the current language of 515B that could be looked at by the legislature and possibly changed to help on that front. Does that make sense? So the first one is simply saying, is simply adding that homeowners are required to carry an HO6 policy with loss assessment component. Because right now it just simply says a homeowner may carry that. And most governing documents of associations say may. So I think it would be beneficial for both homeowners and associations if state statute said homeowners must carry an HO6 policy. It can be as vague as that, doesn't have to get detailed, but changing that may to shall, I think would have a significant possible effect.
Mhm.
Any questions on that idea?
Mr. Axbig?
Mr. Chair, I do have one question could an association mandate this as part of the agreement for being a part of the association? You said sometimes they say may. Could they require, I presume they could require this. Could this be accomplished through that means rather than state
So
statute?
it could be accomplished in an association by amending their own governing documents, which is a difficult thing for associations to do. And if it fell back to state statute, then, that kind of solves the issue for them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Reams, do you know what's the prevalence of people that don't have the HO6s? And is it because they're unable to secure it? Is it because the market's not available? What's the reason and what's the impact?
Thank you. Good question. I don't have stats. The impact though is significant because what it is, as associations' master policy deductibles rise, we all know why. It pushes the effect to the HO6 policy. So a homeowner has to secure an HO6 policy that has a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 loss assessment, because those are the news stories we see, right? The big bad homeowner association is assessing, right? So essentially this just brings more awareness and accountability to making sure homeowners get it. The enforcement of it, difficult, but it just certainly would be nice if it said shall.
Awesome. Mr. Charles? Yeah.
At
Yeah.
that level, I mean, I've had associations where, just understand this, if you don't have a mortgage, nobody asks you about getting an HO6 policy anywhere through the process. So anybody that just pays cash for their condo, they're not required. Mortgage companies require it. And if people lapse, they try to put force-based insurance. But if you have an association with a large claim, $20,000 loss assessments, which I had, 2 of the owners didn't have insurance because they didn't do it. All of a sudden, the association is trying to find ways to fund the $40,000. They have to put liens on the people's houses and stuff like that. It becomes a challenge that can be huge for an association financially. I've had it happened.
Yeah, Jean? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, 2 points I would add. One is that I believe this benefits those homeowners as well. Many of these homeowners do not realize that they don't have liability coverage either if they do not have an HO6, and they are left exposed to large lawsuits that they have no money to defend or handle. Second thing, I am on a board of an HOA, so I can comment a little bit regarding this, and the cost to amend your governing documents is significant. So it's very valuable to have this in the code as opposed to requiring each association to make that amendment and incur those costs.
Mr. Brickwitty?
Are you thinking of this as applying to any existing association or just for a newly formed association after the date that this would pass? So if I'm a resident of a homeowners association and I don't have an HO6 policy now, this would require me by law to buy one.
The governing documents of the association are silent on it, yes.
That does strike me as an increase in cost to the consumer, but I don't disagree with the premise that being fully insured is a good thing, but just to sort of think that through. And Mr. Chairman, I wonder if it might be, if it were limited to newly formed associations, then consumers and the associations themselves would be able to sort of make that happen going forward, and it would be something that a consumer would understood that if you're buying into that new association, that would be a requirement, but sort of grandfather in anybody who at the moment doesn't have a policy.
I hear that concern very clearly. There's 1,000 other things within 515B that say that the association shall adequately fund their reserves, and 10% of them do. But I get the sentiment though.
Senator Seeberger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a big believer in insurance. I understand insurance. I carry a lot of coverage because I understand how it works and I understand the need. With that all being said, I'm not a fan of mandating insurance coverage for anyone under any reason. I know we have mandatory auto insurance coverage. I am a proponent of everyone has a right to make a bad decision as long as they are fully informed. So those are my reservations to mandating any kind of insurance coverage under any scenario as proposed by this provision.
Senator, Mr. Cocking and then Senator. No.
Yay.
Not yet. I got him whispering in my ear as well, so.
I am nearly always in agreement with Senator Seeberger on the notion of forcing insurance. And the challenge I think that this presents is that we've been hearing about the challenges that the common interest communities, that the multifamily housing folks have been having for years upon years with insurance. And it seems like so much of this boils down to the HO6s, and not being able to either get people to recognize they need the coverage or getting people to buy it and well, it's one thing if it's my own house and I don't buy insurance and I'm kind of out of luck. This does have an impact on your neighbors. It has an impact on the other people that you are in community with. So I don't have a problem necessarily moving forward with these recommendations because I think that regardless of what the recommendations we put forward here are, the legislature is going to do a fair amount of due diligence on this. And I think that there's going to be a number of things that we can weigh in on.
Mhm.
But I think that having some conversation about the challenges in the space that Mr. Reams represents, which I've heard repeatedly about for at least 5 years now. I mean, moving something in the direction that's not, I don't think overly burdensome, kind of moves in that direction, I think is a step that we could take.
Senator Dames?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to speak against this. I've been owners in homeowners association property. I've been on boards of directors of homeowners association property, been in the insurance business for 28 years. And I guess I say this, we have to stop assuming that everybody doesn't know what's happening around them. People have responsibility. People buy property. They know they need to get it insured. If they choose not to insure it, that's up to them. But also, this is going to drive the cost of insurance up. Part of this is we're going to ask the HO6 provider to have include coverage for the homeowners association as an additional insured. I'm going to speak against this, and I hope that we do not do it. And again, I think too, we're just crossing the bounds of government want to take over everybody's life, and I don't appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. And I did message Josh this. I thought we could make a higher level of recommendation that the task force recommends the legislature consider changes to statute 515B as it relates to HO, common interest communities and insurance coverage.
Ms. Samansky?
Thank you. I just had a question. I guess I don't understand how this would increase the cost of insurance, if that could be explained.
Senator Dames, did you want to respond to that? That was.
Sure, I'll respond to that. Yes. The reason I say it's going to increase the cost of insurance is you're going to have the additional insured clause under the HO6 policy where you're additionally insuring the homeowners association. So that means when there's a loss, if there's a lawsuit, basically the HO6 is going to be the primary carrier, and then the homeowners associations are going to step in under that. And so that in these disputable losses where you're not quite sure where that claim really happened. Did it happen on the HO6 property for the guy the person that owns it, or did it happen off their property, maybe coming up the steps to get to their property? And so that would drive the cost of the HO6 up. Thank you.
I understand that concern, and insurance representatives can probably more adequately speak to that, but let me just say briefly the spirit of why that's here. The idea to having the association listed as additionally insured is for a very specific purpose. Because if that insurance lapses for that homeowner, the association is notified. So it's a mechanism for the association to somehow generate awareness of people that don't have coverage. That's it. I don't see any other insurance implications other than that.
There's a lot of people in deep thought right now, so.
Mr. Chair, while Mr. Cocking is
Ms.
thinking,
Sundolf,
I'll
yeah.
just comment here. I am fully in favor of 1, 3, and 4. My reservation on 2 is that the carriers, many of the carriers may just not be willing to offer that. So we could have owners who have to change insurance carriers because they can't get this, or disrupts the market. A suggestion to resolve the concern Mr. Reams has, which is a very good concern, is that we require that a notice of cancellation or non-renewal be provided to the association with at least 30 days notice, 10 days notice on non-pay. And I don't think that would result in any increased cost to anyone, but would provide that knowledge.
Mr. Brickwitty?
Can I just ask Jessica, was your question specific to number one, or were you asking in general about all four recommendations? So I think we've blended in the answer to your question.
Thought I was asking about number one because I didn't realize we were talking about all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would be curious to know how it would affect the costs for all of
I-
them. So I still appreciated the feedback. I just, yeah, was specifically asking about number one.
I'll speak just for myself. I think my thought was that if I'm a homeowner, or if I'm a homeowner in an association and I don't currently have an HO6 policy, this would require me by law to buy one, which wouldn't raise the cost of my insurance, but it certainly would make me have an expense that I heretofore have not. And I also like, I agree with Senator Seeberger, like I understand the value of the insurance policy and being fully insured. So I think if you live in an association, you should have an HO6 policy, but I just am pointing out that I think the way that this recommendation is worded is it would force me to buy one and spend money that I have to date not been spending.
I will clarify though that 515B is actually has specific criteria for who falls under it. Any association built since 1994, June 1st of 94, falls under MCIOA, unless it's a single family association that meets criteria, whatever. But townhomes that were developed prior to June 1st of 1994, which is a significant portion of the insurable market, right? Townhomes prior to that have not since updated their governing documents and opted in to MCIOA. So I ballpark it at 20%, 30% maybe of associations would not fall under MCIOA, therefore would not fall under that requirement.
Okay. Mr. Cocky?
Would be curious, Mr. Reams's thought, but I'm leaning more towards what Ms. Johnson had said, that this gets consolidated down into, I don't think that we sit around and are going to necessarily come to a consensus or what the legislature should do, but I definitely think that the legislature should look at this. Because I think some of these things are workable, to Jean's point, and some of them, I need to go back and do a little bit more research on our part, on the carrier side. Our system's broadly set up to be able to sit and notice of cancellations to carriers to non-policy holders, or is there a way to do that absent it being an additional insured? I think that's the potential challenge. I'm not saying that that's unworkable. I'm just saying that I think those are questions that we'd be able to work through. But I do think that just broadly that the legislature should look at, I don't think these recommendations are overly onerous.
Say that we asked the legislature to give a review of 515B, and we could cite these four specific articles of it and let them determine, because I think they're going to come to these same kind of thoughts and ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense to me too. Mr. Brickwitty or Mr. Axfig?
And Mr. Chair, I just to echo what Josh had to say, I guess as I was kind of envisioning this in my head, something very similar, but also calling out saying, the legislature may, consider the following, parts of, and maybe just add what's in black here and not do, not go further into the weeds than that, but just say, may consider the following options, including but not limited to these four things. I think that would be, absent a broader discussion and, taking testimony and all that, which the legislature will do anyways. I think that gives me some comfort going into this. So those are my comments there, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Brickwitty.
I would be much more comfortable supporting a more generic proposal along the lines of what Mr. Axfig just stated, that the legislature should, examine issues related to 515B, and we could list these, but I wouldn't feel terribly comfortable on a couple of these saying that the task force recommends that the legislature do these things without having more discussion than we have time for today.
Yeah, I think that makes sense myself. I'm seeing nodding heads. All right, so we have to come up with some language here.
Added or whoever that the legislature should consider changes as it relates to 515B, including but not limiting to, and then the language that Mr. Reams has in bold on his handout, if that meets what you're looking for, Josh.
It gives them direction into the sentiment of the idea, but allows them the creativity to come up with what that means.
Yep, nodding heads in the room. And I think that Mr. Turman can probably pick that up from the record. I think we all, within the room, we have an understanding what's meant here. Is that, yeah, and Mr. Turman is nodding his head, so I'll go ahead and make the motion to that effect, and we'll vote aye.
Adam Axvig. Peter Berkwitty.
Yes.
Jacqueline de Medici Bruno.
Yes.
Boss Trolls. Aaron Cocking. Senator Dames.
No.
Carrie Johnson. Jessica Sheminski. Anna Midgley.
Yes.
Josh Reams.
Yes.
Jean Sunloff.
The vote on this item is 11 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent, so the recommendation is adopted. I think that is the last of the recommendations to act on. So the next item of business is the adoption of the final working group report. And so we have a kind of a draft of the skeleton into which the actions we've taken today would be inserted. And so the motion on this would be, I would move to approve the task force's final report to the legislature. LCC staff are authorized to prepare the report, incorporate the recommendations made today, and make any technical changes that are necessary. The chair is authorized to approve and work with staff to submit the final report. Any discussion? I think we're good. Oh, Ms. Johnson.
Ask that in the report that a roll call vote is listed out for each recommendation.
I think that goes without saying.
Specifically
Okay.
individuals, how individuals voted.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Everybody okay with that? I think that's appropriate in any case. Yep.
And then I also have a question. In previous task forces, I think this has been done if task force members can submit comments as a part of the final report. Is that something that would be allowed?
I think that other task forces I've been on, there have been like minority reports and the like. I don't know, how do other members feel about allowing individual members to add their own comments to the report? I mean, I think the record from deliberations is, we're all on record for how we feel about this stuff. Mr. Axvig?
Mr. Chair, I guess, my thoughts first on the vote in the listing of the roll call. I don't know if that's consistent with how task forces have operated in the past. I guess what we do here is all on public record as it is. And so if somebody wanted that information, they could go ahead and access it. But that being said, I guess I don't dislike it so much just because it is all public record. With regards to the comment after the fact, I guess the one concern I have is that we're approving a report. If there are comments after the fact,
is somebody reading that document gonna understand that the additional comments weren't approved by the task force? And so I'm concerned that if we add in additional comments after the fact, that did the task force bless those comments as well? I just, again, I'm not opposed to it. I want to be clear, and I don't know how we do this around this table, design it so that it's clear what has been approved by the task force and what was added after the fact. I think it generates confusion. That's my concern.
Yeah, I think Mr. Turman has some advice for us.
In other groups, their members have submitted letters and they're compiled into an appendix in the report.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think you're nodding heads. Okay, and
The report is due February 15th. It will likely be submitted on the 13th.
Okay.
It's a Friday.
Okay.
By Thursday would be good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
mhm. Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we can proceed to a vote, and the chair votes aye.
Adam Axley?
Aye.
Peter Brickwitty?
Yeah.
Jacqueline Domenici Bruno?
Yes.
Boss Scholes?
Yes.
Aaron Cocking? Senator Dames?
No.
Carrie Johnson? Jessica Sheminski?
On the adoption of the report.
Oh, yes.
Anna Midgley? Josh Reams?
Yes.
Gene Sunloff?
The vote is 10 in favor, 2 opposed, 1 absent, so the measure passes. Okay. Next item is vote to approve the today's meeting minutes. Since this is our last meeting, the chair would move to authorize LCC staff to prepare and the Chair Elkins to approve the meeting minutes from today's.
So move.
Sorry? Yeah, this can be a voice vote apparently. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then item 6 is closing remarks. So I'll open this up to everybody for my part. I've really enjoyed this process. I think we've had a really good group here. It's been collegial, and the most important thing that we've done here is create a body of information for the legislature to act on. If you consider all of the testimony that we've been taken, all of the reference materials that have been provided, all of which is accessible to the legislature for the purposes of drafting and moving legislation forward through the process. I'm proud of the body of evidence that we've created to support that process myself. So. And I want to thank everyone for their active participation in the group. Yeah, so other members, closing commentary, Senator.
I want to thank you, Chair Elkins, for this task force. I think you did a really nice job diving into an issue that a lot of people had a lot of feelings on. And I want to thank the members of this task force for their input and thoughtful conversation. And I particularly want to thank my counterpart, Senator Gary Dames. I am so grateful that we were able to work together as sort of the co-representatives of the Senate on this task force. I appreciate all the conversation, Senator Dames, and our ability to have some really good discussions on these issues.
And I'd like to second that comment as well. Senator Dames has continuously contributed very relevant comments and help keep us grounded. I really appreciate his contributions as well. Ms. Johnson.
Senator Seeberger and Senator Dames for your time and for on this task force, and all of the members, regardless of where I think we should or should not have ended up on in terms of the recommendations. I appreciate everybody giving their time and energy to elevating this issue and having discussions. And so just wanted to voice my thanks to everyone.
Others? Well, with that, I think our business is concluded. And as soon as, Mr. Chairman, as soon as we have the final report drafted, it'll be, of course, circulated. And again, thank you all again for participating in this. Mr.
Vote
Chairman,
on the minutes? You did that?
we did that. Yep. So with that, we can be adjourned. Thank you very much.